So you might have heard that they're planning to ban TikTok, and I've not really been following the TikTok ban because I'm a grown man and I don't care. However, one interesting thing that I have noticed is all of the people migrating to a platform called RedNote, and there's a supposed great migration, and this is interesting for multiple different reasons. The first of which is that RedNote is mainly used by Chinese people, and so the platform's still in Chinese characters, and so Americans have had to adapt to the Chinese way, and the sort of cultural exchanges going on here have been very, very interesting. They've realised, perhaps in some cases, that they're not so different, and it's just their governments trying to turn them against each other for the sake of their own selfish gain. But on sort of other things, I think there is a more insidious side to it, where you can already see people falling for what seems to me to be propaganda. But we shall see what you make of it, because there's a certain amount of nuance here that I think is worth stating, and I think that there is some wholesome stuff going on, but also there's certainly plenty of things to be cautious about. And I don't know what your opinion is on the TikTok ban. I'm sort of pretty indifferent to the notion of it. It's also, in America, it's not real, and I don't use the app, and so I'm so far removed from it.
I don't use TikTok, so I have no real opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. So yes, very strong words here from us today. But it's also known, this RedNote, as Jiahongshu in China. I hope that's how I'm meant to pronounce it.
I hope it's not.
Well, thank you.
I hope you've got it wrong.
I did learn a little bit of Mandarin, and I have got a bit of a penchant for reading Chinese literature, so I think I'll be all right. But it translates to Little Red Book, which, if you know anything about anything, is the name of Chairman Mao's Book of Quotes. Chairman Bao.
Chairman Batman.
Yeah. Unfortunately not. And Polymarket is already forecasting that there is a 3% chance it's banned this month. So the betting market is already taking bets on whether it will be banned.
That's still a very low chance.
It is, yes. But it's not entirely impossible. And I had a little dabble in democracy, and I need to click show results, but I asked, which government do you trust more with your data, either the US government or the Chinese government, and people tended to prefer the US government over the Chinese government, which I can understand.
Oh, the devil you know and all.
Exactly. But then when I asked, do you fear subtle
Jokes
online...
on you, both of them have all of your information.
That's true, they do, actually. Obviously, you shouldn't trust either. That's the correct response, but I deliberately didn't put that because everyone would pick it. Do you fear subtle online influence from your own government more or less than that of a foreign power? What would you go for, Harry?
For me, I would say my own government, personally.
And you agree with the majority there, and that was a clear one. And I think that the argument here is that your own government can do more to you than that of a foreign power, and also they're more interested in doing more to you.
Also, generally speaking, a foreign government, I've seen people make the jokes when a few weeks ago, David Lammy and others were saying, oh, the Russian disinformation is trying to demoralize British people. And there was a meme that somebody put of a meeting that Putin was taking, trying to figure out what they could do to demoralize the British that their own government hadn't already done. Quick, flood their country with third worlders. They've already done that, sir. Destroy the housing market. They've already done that, sir. Make them all poor somehow? No, they've already done that to themselves. My own government is far more of an enemy to me right now than any foreign government.
And then the final one I had was, do you think TikTok should be banned in the United States? Now, which answer would you pick, Harry?
I'm not really informed enough on the problems with TikTok to be able to give an informed...
I'll take that as a yes, it is annoying.
Okay. Thank you.
Which actually won, just about, but yes, it's a security risk was close.
It's full of children, and anything that's full of children is annoying.
That is true. But yes, that's my little foray into doing a bit of democracy there. Who cares? Not me. But anyway, it's worth mentioning as well, as the Mises Caucus here points out, TikTok refugees reacting to the US government's ban under the guise of combating CCP influence by migrating to the more overtly Chinese app RedNote is a fascinating manifestation of prohibition economics, adding a new dimension to how terrible policy the ban is. Now, I'm a bit less strong on it. I think probably it's just better to keep it as things were, where if you work for the government, you can't have TikTok where it actually matters, and chances are the average US citizen doesn't really need to worry about it. Perhaps you could even look at what's being shown to citizens and see if it's okay, but I think the blanket ban is a little bit of a knee-jerk response, but I'm not that strong on it. But it's worth mentioning as well that lots of people who are left-leaning fled to this RedNote app, obviously very much controlled by the Chinese, and they ban LGBTQ content, any inappropriate outfits. So if you're too revealing, yeah, that one too, they will take your content down, which I think is a good thing, enforcing standards of decency. And also you have to pick your gender, male or female. So if you can overcome those hurdles as a leftist, you can actually get onto the platform. But it's also worth mentioning as well, all of the LGBT people were having their posts taken down and their accounts suspended. So
I suppose most of these people will flock to Blue Sky or maybe even Twitter if they're trying to post, because you can still post short little clips of yourself doing stupid things. So that's what you might find, is that they will just flood those sites instead with content that's probably already on there anyway.
Or maybe they will conceal their ways for the sake of attention, because I think a lot of people that are on these platforms will do anything for attention. Who knows? Who cares? And yes, there's also it's been floated.
Are we really just sticking with the term TikTok refugees?
No, it's a bit ironic in my usage. Who cares? They're not refugees. They're using an app. But yeah, the idea that it might turn people into anti-communists because they're being forced to be a bit more conservative is funny, but I don't think it's actually going to happen. But this is funny. Here we go.
Like everybody else, I downloaded Zhao Hongshu, RedNote, Red Book, whatever it's called, the Communist Manifesto, and I'm very upset. I am not having the same experience that everybody else is. I download it thinking I'm about to see like Chinese Pinterest, I'm going to see all my American friends on TikTok. Tell me why, when I post one photo of myself, completely innocent, me standing in a telephone box in London, there's some nice photos, I put that up, and then instantly this happens. Photo gets hundreds of likes, which I'm excited about initially, but then my comment section is just full of gay Chinese men trying to have sex with me, and they're all over my profile, and because the UI is in Chinese, which I don't speak or read, I can't change my privacy settings, so I'm getting inundated with messages like this. Are you single? Hey, I'm Dexter, currently living in Shanghai. Hello. I don't know what these names are, but they're all hitting on me. I know it.
Hell of an ego boost, though, wouldn't it?
So apparently there are lots of gay Chinese, but they just don't...
Is this the main reason you decided to start looking into this, Josh? You were trying to see if you could open up your dating market.
I mean, there's a lot of money in China, and, you know... You need to diversify your portfolios to be a professional male gold digger.
To do anything for money.
That's not true, but it's out there now. So it's also worth mentioning as well, it's not the only thing that they're taking down. Anyone posting Tiananmen Square, that gets taken down, obviously. It's to be expected.
Oh my god, the CCP app takes down anti-CCP images. Oh my god.
I know. There's also, here's a good sort of summary of the kind of things that will be censored. Taiwan is a country, free Tibet, COVID came from China, the Uyghur camps, obviously Tiananmen Square, as we mentioned, and Mao starving lots of Chinese people. All of these things will get you suspended. However, if you're talking about Western politics, all of a sudden you are given a certain amount.
Is it the most free and open app out there?
It could be. It's certainly more free than X. You know, Elon's X, the free speech platform, ain't got nothing, as we'll see soon enough. It's also worth mentioning as well that lots of left-wingers were complaining that lots of Western tech was spying on them, and when it comes to China, they are fine with it. But obviously, hypocrisy is not interesting. But what is interesting is what's not banned on this platform. You can say, hello, Austrian painter man. I can't say that, and nor will I on YouTube. And also the N-word. Those things are okay to say on RedNote.
You will never believe this. You can offensively talk to Jewish baby emoji, baby emoji, baby emoji. What the hell is that?
Well,
okay, all right.
someone did a video about the Talmud, and it was taken down within 10 minutes.
All right, okay.
I presume...
There's something familiar about that egg, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
I presume this lady might be of a specific background, and a Chinese person has sent just a picture of an egg, and she says, "It is disappointing for this to be the first comment I received on this app, but I'm hopeful that it is not representative of the general Chinese views towards Judaism."
That's incredible. I'd have a laugh at that.
It is quite funny, isn't it?
It's like you remember the old Wii, Nintendo Wii, how you
the characters,
the little knees on them. It's like a Wii version of him.
Well, Nintendo make that happen. I want to see him doing bowling in Wii Sports.
Someone's done it, I'm sure.
And in no relation whatsoever to the previous news, Nick Fuentes has announced that he's on the platform as well.
All right.
Unfortunately,
getting lots and lots of messages from gay Chinese men.
That's probably the part of it, as well as their willingness to allow certain kinds of speech. But Nick Fuentes, I hate to break it to you, but one of the main venture capital firms that has invested in RedNote is owned by a Jewish man. So Nick Fuentes on suicide watch now. But anyway, there have been lots of cultural exchanges here. Here is someone with a Palestine flag in their name, probably a leftist, amazed at a Chinese car. Obviously, these sorts of things are a little bit of a snapshot in a very thin slice of Chinese society that isn't necessarily representative, because I don't think everyone in China has a car like that and is being presented in that way.
That's just what the US wants you to think.
That's true. Maybe I'm just been, propagandized. Maybe China is a paradise.
I mean, there does have to be an acceptance that there are so many people in China that a good portion of them will just be living what to us would seem like relatively normal lives.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that this gives an opportunity to see a little bit more of that.
That's true. So it's also worth mentioning as well that the integration of the Americans to the app has been pretty quick, and on the first day, more or less, it's already considered rude not to subtitle videos in, another language. So Americans will subtitle their videos in Mandarin, I would presume, and then the Chinese have also been more considerate in writing English subtitles for their videos as well. And so there's been a bit of a cultural exchange, and this is where the wholesome stuff comes in, because this does seem like authentic cultural exchange that in a way that is wholesome and nourishing. Like here they are learning and teaching each other their respective languages. Some of them is sort of meme language here, like
Chinese spy, give me your data.
Yeah, they've got that in there because the Chinese heard about what people were saying about these apps and were mocking people, just like, yes, I am your designated Chinese spy, things like that.
We all have one.
Mm-hmm. We all do, yeah. And they're even asking them to help with their homework, their English homework here. They're saying, American, help me here. And I think that's kind of wholesome that they're getting actual native speakers to help them with their homework, even though they should be doing it themselves. And there's also some great impressions coming out.
I think I know. I think I might have seen this guy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people ask me, they want to know it so bad. They want to know it so bad. They want to know, how does America sound in Chinese? In Chinese. Like how China sound in English. Well, I'll tell you what, it's very easy. It's called 美国
You get the idea.
It's a decent impression.
It was good,
It's
yeah.
a good one, yeah.
I was quite impressed. So obviously there's stuff like that, but also I don't know
Why
why
was actually wait? Why was there village people playing in the background?
I did clock that too.
Yeah, why?
Why is that not loaded? Okay, something has
Someone might
gone
have
wrong.
Taken it down.
But basically, there was some American kids that had already learnt to speak a decent amount of Mandarin, and I was quite impressed because I've learnt a little bit, and they were doing pretty well. You could hear that they had an accent, obviously, but they were talking as they were doing stuff, and it's like they've actually taken some time to learn the language, which is interesting. And then, the links are all in a funny order here. No. Anyway, here is, what is this? I'll just skip that one.
You tell me.
I don't know. They've been moved around. They're in a different order than I remember. But here are people asking what beer pong's all about. Like, why do they drink beer in this way? Does it have any special meaning? Obviously, it's just for fun. But there is obviously... They've seen the red cups and the beer pong thing. It seems like an American cultural practice. And they're curious about it. And there are exchanges here. And there are also videos like this where a guy is pretending with a fake axe to... You get the idea, but he...
Decapitate his dog.
Yeah, pretending to eat it because obviously there's a perception that they all eat dogs out there, and actually...
Thought that's just the Koreans.
The Koreans do have that perception as well, but I think lots of people do keep pets in China. It's not unheard of, funnily enough, and some of them have quite Western attitudes towards them, and people are realising that actually they do have a bit of a sense of humour and can make fun of themselves to a certain extent. And... here is an example of a Chinese meme. Hello, American TikTok refugee here. That's what they're calling themselves. What are Chinese memes like? Please share some. And then...
Not bad.
I think those Chinese are all right, aren't they? They got a sense of humour.
These ones, yeah.
At least those ones, yeah. And then things start to take a little bit of... there are some faux pas here. Like... what is this? The order is all off. But what I did have was someone asking, like, oh, hang on a minute, you've got long working hours, things are really bad in China, why don't you form a union? Which they've sort of missed a trick there, haven't they? And then someone said, sorry for Japan guys, in a video about nuking Japan, and they realised very quickly, I think, that the Chinese have a very different view on that, and actually they deserved it. You don't have to repent for anti-human fascism. On the contrary, we still think that you have lost too few nuclear weapons. Sorry for what? No sorry. Don't say sorry. Dropping atomic bombs is the right thing to do.
In all circumstances.
Of course. And then there's also, I thought this was funny, there are people trying to first post, say, what happening with Asian girls, and then there are Chinese men saying, congrats for triggering a social experiment, pig. You're just a sex toy for them, like a condom. It is disposable after use.
I don't think that's necessarily going to be a bad thing for this guy posting on there.
probably
He's
true.
like, oh, amazing, that's just what I want.
I hope you get lots of HIV with white girls and white pig. So you do scratch the surface a little bit and you find a certain amount of anti-European dislike. I'm not going to say hatred because that's a bit strong, but they're correctly policing these people, because I sort of approve of what they're doing here. People posting these sorts of things are annoying and deserve this sort of reaction, I think. But on to the more concerning stuff. Here's something that was posted. Do you ever think the USA will have a worker-led revolution?
No.
No. Bit of a Chinese-centric thing. And there was also this. They were sort of worshipping Luigi Mangione.
It's not that surprising.
Yeah. They were teaching each other how to say his name, and got lots of weird posts deifying him, which isn't isn't necessarily a shock. There are also people trying to dress up like him for some reason. I don't know why. It's also not the most daring so-called cosplay because it's just a jumper, a white shirt and trousers. No one's going to be like, oh, you're dressed as that guy, because that's just dressing like a Westerner, really. So there seems to be a sort of agitprop aspect to it where they're trying to solidify people's attitudes towards it, but then this could well be organic, and it might not necessarily be insidious. Also, this kind of annoyed me. I didn't know China was this beautiful, and it's like dystopian cityscapes. And is that really what beautiful is now?
To a modern eye, there is something, I don't know, aesthetic about the Blade Runner-esque dystopian cityscape. It's cool to a certain extent. Obviously, there is something inhuman about it as well.
But if it were up to me, I might nominate something like this, personally, which is the Huangshan Mountains. Quite famous, I believe. But this sort of thing, I could see people calling beautiful. A skyscraper, not so much. And there's also people here. I'm sorry to have to play these. These are on TikTok as well. So sorry for subjecting for the second time.
And I'm no longer convinced that we are living in a first world country. Seeing the everyday lives of Chinese people, like obviously certain Chinese people, I'm not saying everybody's lives, but it's just like insanely eye-opening. There's something really remarkable that I have noticed about most of these Chinese people, even older people, like people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they look so much less traumatized than most Americans. Our citizens here are not only like really cold and mean and disconnected and combative, but like you can just see people's problems on their face.
So she's not necessarily wrong about something there, but I think the problem here is that both China and America are low trust societies now, at least parts of America, a significant portion of it. And the difference is that one is monocultural and one is not, or monoethnic, should I say. The Chinese sort of know what to expect from other Chinese people, and the Americans...
They all have a shared background and values.
And so when you're out in public, you can let your guard down a little bit more, whereas in America, because it's more dangerous, I think it's fair to say...
Diverse.
Diverse.
The two are connected to one another.
They both start with the same letter as well. It's got to be true. So, I think that there is something to this, and they're realising that actually that things aren't all well in America and that people are going around being miserable, and it is true that you can see it on people's faces, but this realisation, I think, is not necessarily something that can be orchestrated by the Chinese government, but it's still some people realising that there's something wrong with their country and they prefer China, which isn't necessarily good for the West, I don't think, because China's certainly no utopia, that's for sure. And yes, there's a guy here who was explaining medical bills and the difference in cost. He was saying that an ambulance was several times more expensive than that in Shanghai, which is the most expensive in China, and how their medical bills are much cheaper than those of the US. But then if you compare the US's medical bills to anywhere in the world, they're much more expensive. I think it's a unique thing to the West and not necessarily reflective of a success of China. And that's how it's being presented, though, unfortunately. And this is what the end result may well look like, is that lots of American kids are going to start looking like little tiny communists with their red books in their hands. Maybe AK-47s as well. I don't know. We shall see. But the final thing I wanted to end on, and the most harrowing of all, is this. No. The Chinese are making fun of us, Harry, of how we say bottle of water.
Okay, the cultural exchange already happened in that case, because it's the Americans that like to do that.
Yes.
It's pronounced bottle of water. Mm-hmm. And the bottle of water, that's a very Black London way of saying it.
Yes. Also, at least we pronounce our T's. I know you threw your T's in the harbour, but bottle with 2 D's in the middle.
Bottle.
Yeah. I'm afraid when it comes to the English language, the trick is in the name, right? It is English.
And Americans don't have much to say when it comes to water with all the fluoride that's in theirs.
That's true. They are taking it out, though. I'm also trying to yank your chain a bit there. I'm trying to wind you up on purpose for fun, because I don't actually mind. You can speak however you want. But my point being in the segment that the new app has potentially made people realise that the Chinese aren't so different to them, which in one hand is actually quite significant, because when the US starts sort of escalating tensions with the Chinese about Taiwan, and there's this potential discussion of, are we going to have boots on the ground in Taiwan and heat things up, which I don't personally think will happen, but people will be far more averse to this if they realise, oh wait, it's just our governments fighting each other. We don't actually have any problems with one another interpersonally. And I think that that's a good thing, because when people realise that, it means that they're less inclined to go on foreign adventures for, profit of arms manufacturers. But the sort of other side of that is that obviously it gives the CCP a good amount of power over what young people are seeing, and allows them to shape how they view their own country. And as we can see, it's not entirely positive in that respect. And of course, having a realistic view of your country is important, but I think that there are lots more propaganda opportunities here if the right things are done. And it is a potential point of concern, but it's not entirely clear what to do about it quite yet. I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're doing, you could always go to our website and watch our series Lads Hour, where we have a bit of fun. This time we're making outlandish predictions for 2025, and if you want to see all the other things that we're putting out, you can always follow us on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.